welcome everybody. Thanks for listening in to the Counseling Podcast. I'm here with Jonathan Kittle, owner of the Counseling Podcast and Wellspring Counseling, and I'm Margaret K. Brooks. I'm a licensed counselor here at Wellspring, and we have a special guest today, and we're super excited to talk to her, Julie Vaughan, who's a nutritionist and has a world of knowledge on food and how it relates to relationship and the brain and just the essentials of what we need to live a healthy and fulfilling life with ourselves and with others. So thanks for joining us. I'm excited to dive in and talk more.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So Julie Vaughan is a registered dietitian, has been in private practice, but starting a new venture. Mm-hmm. Can we start with you just telling us a little about who you are and kind of your work?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a registered dietitian. So I became a dietitian because I wanted to practice in eating disorders. I knew that that's what I wanted to be involved in. I didn't feel like personality-wise, like I was equipped to be a therapist. That wasn't like, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Uh-huh. I'm like a science brain, like I just love the like medicine and the science behind how the body works. And so I like at very random applied to graduate school to become a dietitian. And when I got in, I was like, I guess I'll become a dietitian. I don't know. And
awesome.
Luckily, when I finished, I was like offered a position in an eating disorder treatment facility in Atlanta. And so I started my career there. So I always worked in higher levels of care. And then when I had my daughter 7.5 years ago, went into private practice for more flexibility and just easier time-wise with kids. And so I've been in private practice for a while, and then now we're starting a PHP program here in Greenville with Prisma, and so I'm going to go over there
and explain what PHP means for those who are listening.
So when you think of eating disorder care, a lot of people are treated at the outpatient level of care, where they're going to see myself, they're going to see a therapist, they'll maybe see their primary care physician, they'll maybe have a psychiatrist on board. That's like your lowest level of care, where you're seeing a therapist and a dietitian once a week, every other week, whatever it might be. When you think of eating disorders and how, especially with malnutrition, how it affects the brain and the just ability for the brain to work. Mm-hmm. Sometimes higher levels of care or more support are needed. And so you have IOP, intensive outpatient, and that's going to be kids who just need a little bit more support. Maybe they need groups, maybe they need peer support, or adults.
Right.
And they're going to go 3 days a week for a few hours after school, after work.
More than once a week.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. PHP is where it depends on a lot of factors, but it could be 7 days a week. It could be 5 days a week. It could be 6 hours a day. It could be 8 hours a day. So it's still considered outpatient. You're not living anywhere. But you get to go and get intensive support for the day.
Yeah.
And then you come home, you practice stuff at night, you sleep at home, you're still with family, you're still in your environment. And then there's obviously residential care. And then with eating disorders, we also have inpatient care, which would be a medical stabilization, where you're in like a hospital bed, getting physical health care, not residential, which is both like physical health and mental health care.
So I'm hearing like when dealing with eating disorders is definitely the best treatment is collaborative approach with a lot of different specialties.
A lot of specialties, yeah.
And then I'm also hearing you say in that the different levels. So we have the IOP, which is again
3 days, 3 hours a day.
And it stands for
intensive outpatient.
And then PHP,
partial hospitalization, which is not hospitalization at all. I don't know why it's called that.
Yeah.
But that's a common mental health term. Like that's a common.
Often it's hosted at the hospital.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah. And then the last one was the most
residential. And then you have inpatient. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a blessing to the community, just the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, to have a program like that here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've had friends who have children who struggle with eating disorders or collaborating with other counselors, and when they need a higher level of care, they're often having to go out of state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which of course means they're not seeing family. They're less connected to their support system.
And such a strain on the family, especially like if they don't need residential care where they're living there,
Yes.
then you're having to find housing. You're staying at a Ronald McDonald House. So for Greenville to be able to have a program is honest. I mean, it's super exciting.
Super. Yeah.
That is great.
It
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
So I wonder, one of the things I know I wanted to ask you about, maybe zooming out from eating disorders specifically.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk, a lot of people kind of mentioning a connection between nutrition, eating, and mental health in general.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear like your thoughts on that. Like, is there a connection between nutrition and mental health? What is it? If there is one, can you share a little bit about that?
I love that question because I think they're very connected, because I think a lot of times we think the brain is different than the rest of the body. The brain needs different, I just don't think we think of the brain as like an organ, as a part of our physical health, because we think we have like control over our brain, or we can manage it, or we can learn to, where our brain requires like calories, our brain requires nutrition, our brain requires all the same things that the rest of our body needs to work, right? And so nutrition psychiatry is actually like a very blossoming field, and I'm by no means in any way knowledgeable or a specialist in that, but I think it's very fascinating. I love learning about it because, again, like the brain is an organ. And so if we think of the body and how the body works, I think a lot of times we have conceptualized nutrition. I think culturally we've really missed the mark on understanding nutrition. And we think about calories. Everybody ties it to weight loss, these things that maybe people have goals of. But like the brain requires calories, right? And so when you aren't fueling the brain appropriately, it isn't able to work. And I think I use the most basic example with like clients or with their parents or whatever, where like if we're all sitting here at 1:15 in the afternoon, if I had not eaten lunch yet and I've been up since 6:30, I had breakfast or whatever, it would be harder to focus, right? My brain would be distracted by food.
Feed me. Yeah.
That's like our basic hierarchy of needs, right? If your basic needs aren't met, then we aren't as successful in moving up that ladder.
Why do you think we bypass the basics of biology sometimes when we're thinking about how we're feeling, or even how we're showing up in relationships? Well, I'm not saying everyone, but it can be easy to do that. What do y'all think? Is that a cultural thing? Is that a human thing? Like,
do you have thoughts on that?
I think it's a great point, because you're bringing in you're stressing the importance of the brain and how that is needed for you to live and function and think through things and just live a healthy life from the basic needs standpoint. And then we also, as counselors, look at love, security, having our basic needs met also helps us be able to grow as people in relationship too. So there's a connect of like, what are the basic needs as people to live and to flourish in our world and relationally. It's and I think it's really neat to hear your side of stressing the importance of food, nutrition, fueling the brain instead of fuel and nutrition, fueling the other parts of our body. How many of us actually think about the brain as an organ, to your point?
And I think, again, like I work from a perspective of like, I'm pretty anti-diet culture. I really don't buy into this mentality of, I think fueling your body, you need to fuel your body for your body to function rather than to be a certain size or fit into, I don't know, to be liked or whatever. Right. And so in my practice, what I see most commonly, people are under fueling because of an intentional attempt to underfuel.
Yeah.
Or I think there's also if you're working with somebody who is really struggling with depression, right? Like there's other reasons, ADHD.
Yep.
Getting a high schooler on ADHD medication to eat is really challenging, right? Getting an adult with ADHD to eat is really challenging. And there's barriers to that. And yet, to overcome that, we require these calories, right? Or if you think about metabolism and how we use what we eat. So we eat, we digest our food, and then we metabolize it. People think of metabolism as like, it's how much energy your body uses, but metabolism is really what we do with the energy that we put into our body. And so I think a really good example in mental health is tryptophan is one of our amino acids. It's part of protein. People think of it turkey.
Right.
Thanksgiving Day, you eat a bunch of turkey, it makes you sleepy.
Sleepy.
Tryptophan with vitamin B12 as a coenzyme converts to serotonin. So when we're under fueling, if you're not eating protein, if you're a 12-year-old making an attempt at vegetarianism, which means you just eat vegetables, right? Like if things are misunderstood and not well done, the brain's not getting what it needs. And so I'm not going to say eat more turkey to heal your depression, but
eat.
It plays a role, right? So with medication, with counseling, we still have to be fueling ourselves to care for ourselves and to care for our relationships.
You know, counselors, I know we often will kind of get a pulse on appetite and eating as a way to understand how much is their emotional challenge, like anxiety or depression, how much is it interfering in their life?
Yeah.
People aren't eating, forgetting, they just don't have the appetite. It's like a barometer. It tells us a little bit about their emotional, but it sounds like what you're saying is it goes the other way too. Like it's a thermostat. Like if you eat, you're probably going to feel better emotionally if you can eat well. So some people are just maybe mindless about that. I might fall in that category where I'm just not thinking about food, not thinking about eating a lot. It's interesting though, and I want to understand, is this like a cultural thing in the US? Is it more global? You say some people are consciously like not getting enough calories. Not because they're mindless, but because they're thinking about their weight, their body image so much. Is that what you were saying earlier? Can you talk some about like why do you think that's the case?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very common. I think body image is something that people perceive as driving acceptance. If I look a certain way, if I appear a certain way, I'll be loved. And so even if that's at like the cost of my own well-being, I so deeply want to be loved. I so deeply want to be accepted. And so I'll do what I see, whether that's on, social media or on TV or just in peers, you know, like you see it in adolescence. You hit puberty and your body changes a ton. So like, how do I control that? How do I keep that from happening? This is weird. This is uncomfortable. I don't know what you see in your social circles, but like as we've had babies and then entering into perimenopause, like your body changes.
Right.
And I think the body was meant to change. I don't think we're supposed to weigh what we did when we graduated high school, when we were 18 years old. But when I sit with women all the time, it's like, well, I graduated high school at this weight. And I'm like, and you've had 4 children since then. And you work full time. And you like, there's just no grace in the fact that like, you don't have control over your body.
There's
really
a standard that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't help but notice like like you say, acceptance.
Yes.
Or like a desire to be loved. Like what meaning is kind of getting projected into our physicality, like how we look.
And at the cost of our own health, to your point, too.
Well-being.
Like of your health and your ability to live a healthy life, to try to get that acceptance met. Yeah.
And I think going back to kind of what you were saying, where like we use that as a gauge of well-being, we don't always connect all the dots. And so one of the things that I assess for anytime I'm meeting with somebody, especially if there's a concern for under eating, is sleep, right? And so we all grew up, I don't know if maybe you weren't watching Oprah with me after high school, you know, but like don't eat after 6 o'clock, right? Like there's all these rules of like how you can manage your health and how you can, but if you go to bed at like 11 o'clock and you had dinner at 5:30, you're probably going to be hungry again.
Yeah.
And most people have trouble sleeping when they're underfueled. So if you're under eating during the day, if you're not, you know, fueling yourself when your body needs fuel, your function is going to be impaired.
Your brain is going to turn on, an alarm's going to say, we haven't had enough. Wake
Go
up,
find food.
Get some food.
There might be a famine.
No wonder you can't sleep. Right?
There's a threat. Yeah, don't go to sleep, right? And so then it's all tied together, but then you're not sleeping. So then you're more anxious. And if that anxiety is projected on body image or food, or it's a really vicious cycle.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to me how food, our appearance, is so much a proxy for really deep stuff. Am I loved? Am I accepted? What gives me value?
Yeah.
All sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
I know another question I had was about this idea of a relationship with food.
Yeah.
People talk about having a healthy relationship with food, or I'm really curious what you think about using that word. Like, I'm also wondering, should we have a relationship with food?
Yeah.
Is it better to just not think a lot about it? Or what do you think about that kind of relationship we should aspire to have, or aim to kind of have?
I think that's the basis of my work. When I think of my role as a dietitian and what I hope for, I hope that I'm making people healthier. But I think within that, ultimately, it's that they would have a healthy relationship with food.
Yeah.
And then they would be able to manage their health, because it's really hard to manage your health when you don't have a healthy relationship with food. So I do think we have a relationship with food, because it is something that if you are healthy, you are engaging with 4 to 7 times a day, every single day, right?
You can't not
You
have a relationship.
can't not.
Yeah.
It is something that takes up a lot of our time, our energy, our money, but we don't think about it because it's really natural, right?
Yeah.
Like you've done it since day one. But it's a big part of our day, every day. And so I think when that trust is broken, when people don't have a healthy relationship with food, I think that can be from a young age. If there was like neglect or lack of access to food, I think that can impair your relationship with food.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might see in adulthood or adolescence behaviors like hoarding or hiding food or stealing food or whatever, right? It could be because of an attempt at dieting, if your intention is like so, I don't know, you so deeply want to change your body, you can get to where you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to, I don't know
It's
how to
almost
fuel
like you're
myself.
manipulating the food to do what you want it to do, which is not exactly maybe what it was meant for.
And we
in the first
lose
place.
our like trust in ourselves and our like being able to listen to our body, right? And so I think we have a relationship with food. I think we can have a healthy relationship with food. I think for that to happen, you have to be fueled. Again, we have to stop the like compulsive thinking about food. If you miss a meal, if you're not eating enough, if you're not eating carbohydrates, when you see some candy, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I need it all, right? Like your brain needs carbohydrate. It's just how we work. And so I think having a healthy relationship with food is like being able to eat regularly, fuel yourself. I think it's also being able to enjoy food. And that's something I talk a lot about with clients is food isn't just nutrition. And a lot of times we think of it as just like calories, fueling for sport. If I'm going to go on a run, then I need to eat carbohydrate before and I need to refuel with protein. And there's all this stuff out there about how much protein you should eat and you shouldn't eat this and you should eat that. But ultimately, I think like all foods fit because food is connection with other people,
It's relationship, breaking bread together.
Food is every faith, whatever faith you ascribe to, there's some element of maybe we worship by not eating these things. Maybe we worship by engaging in this meal together. Food is celebration. When have you ever been to a party that doesn't have food? Like that sounds lame, right? Food is a lot more than just energy going into our body and doing the right thing with that.
You share a quote sometimes and it reminds me, it's the one has not lived well if one has not dined well. What's the famous chef? I love that about it's Julia Child.
No, she didn't.
The French cook.
Yes, she didn't say that. Oh my gosh, I have it in my office.
Right, but I love that quote. One has not lived well, and that's I think the essence of some of what you're saying. A good, healthy relationship with food is so much tied to a healthy relationship of self and a healthy relationship with others. There is connection.
I love the piece of being able to enjoy it. Obviously not, you don't want to like obsess about it.
Sure.
And be so skewed in your focus. Like it's just a means to an end to make me look a certain way or be able to do a certain thing, like to enjoy it as part of it. Any other markers of like a healthy relationship with food?
Yeah.
I think a healthy relationship with food. And again, like I come from this perspective of working with eating disorders, and eating disorders being anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder. ARFID, which is your selective eating, is also technically
which is super common.
Super common. You probably see it
because I
in
think
kids
a
all the
lot of
time.
people think it's either anorexia or bulimia, and it's sometimes not really falling on either of those marks. It's more ARFID. Yeah, go into more of
Can
what
you
that.
share and what those letters mean also?
I can.
Pop quiz.
Yeah.
Just ARFID. You want to know what that is?
Yeah.
ARFID is your DSM diagnosis. The long term is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. Okay. So you're going to see that in some neurotypical kids are just highly selective eaters.
Yep.
You see it often in the neurodivergent population. Okay. So your kids with autism are going to be most commonly who I'm seeing where they only eat certain textures, certain colors, certain types of food. We all experience it with our kids, right? Your kids turn 2 or 3, they start to learn autonomy. They start to recognize like, oh, I can tell my mom, no, I'm not going to eat that. Yeah. And what they find the safest is going to be a food that's consistent, right? A goldfish is a goldfish is a goldfish. Yeah. A strawberry is not always a strawberry. Right. Sometimes they're sour, sometimes they're hard, sometimes they're soft, sometimes they're sweet. But that is picky eating. All kids kind of go through that, and they start to just elicit autonomy through food. That's something they can do when you're 3 and you don't have a lot of autonomy. Yeah. But then you'll see some kids stay that way, and they become 5, 6, 7, and they maybe start falling off their growth chart. They're not growing, they're not gaining weight. Maybe they become really brand specific. Okay, so I used to only eat chicken nuggets, and now I can only eat Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets. And if it's not a Chick-fil-A chicken nugget, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Or I can eat Aldi guacamole, but if Aldi changes their guacamole, then guacamole is not a safe food anymore.
And that's just very, very controlling, very rigid.
It's very hard.
Yes.
Yes, it's very rigid.
Kids, we know that, but just that personality trait can probably bleed over into other things, I would imagine, too.
Yeah.
If it starts with food, it can go to other things as well.
And you'll also see ARFID in kids or adults who have traumatic situations around food. So a choking incident, a vomiting incident, something like that. I choked on a piece of chicken, and now eating is no longer safe. Yeah. I can't eat anything, or I can't eat protein or whatever. Yeah. So again, you're only going to get the diagnosis if there's like a social or medical impact, vitamin deficiencies, growth impact, or you get to where I have a client who he's wonderful. He's done like a ton of hard work around trying new foods and learning to eat new foods. But like he started a job, and he was like, everybody goes out to lunch every day, and I can't go because I don't know what to expect. I don't know what they're going to have. I don't know if I can eat. I'm not just going to sit there and not eat. Right. And that becomes really stressful. Yeah. So that would be an ARFID diagnosis also.
So one of the things I'm wondering if you could do is help our listeners know a little bit, like how can they recognize if they might have some kind of problem in their relationship with food?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't meet full criteria for one of these diagnoses, but what are some signs or indicators we could be aware of in our own life, our own experience, that maybe tells us there's something here? Maybe I should talk to maybe a nutritionist, maybe a counselor, maybe a friend. What would you have people look for in their own life?
I think the most like non-clinical kind of like easiest way of looking at it is if food causes you stress, right? If you can't just eat a meal and move on with your day, if you're thinking about it, you're overthinking about it. I tell my clients all the time, like, you don't need, if you never eat ice cream again, like nutritionally, you're going to be fine. You are going to be healthy. You are going to be great. You can fuel yourself without ice cream. And if the thought of your kid's birthday starts to bring stress days before, and like, am I going to eat the ice cream? Well, like, people are going to ask questions if I don't. And well, what if I overeat the ice cream? What if I have too much? To me, that's concerning. I don't think your relationship with ice cream has to be that way.
Wow. Yeah. I love that simplicity. If it causes you stress.
Yes.
Like if food means something
to
you significantly.
If you're thinking about more than just, what am I going to cook this week? How am I going to store this food?
Yeah.
What are we having for dinner? Do my kids and I want to go do something fun? Do we want to go get ice cream.
That's a huge thing I hear is when food starts to impact negatively, it also impacts the relationships around you. What you used to do, what you used to enjoy no longer becomes enjoyable anymore. I can't go hang out with the friends anymore. What I would love to do is throw my child a birthday party, but I'm so afraid of having to explain myself to everybody why I'm not eating ice cream. There's just a lot going on in that.
Yeah.
It's impeding that quality of life, that ability to make connection with others.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying too.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm hearing through that. Yeah.
And so I think there's that element of like overthinking it
Yeah.
that kind of stands out to me.
Yeah, which is what we tend to do when we're anxious about anything.
Yeah,
is
sure.
Overthink it, ruminate.
Yeah.
So our stress level, how much interference it's causing, all of that implies we have to be really honest with ourselves, which I guess is Captain Obvious, of course. If we're going
But a
to make
hard thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Denial is pretty powerful sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's cool to have nutritionists hanging out with counselors. Maybe one of the things we could end on is talking about, you spoke earlier, Margaret K., about the collaborative efforts.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how you do that. And, we're a team of counselors here, and a lot of folks who might be listening to what we put out are interested in counseling. What do counselors specifically need to know about nutrition?
Yeah.
Or how can we maybe help our clients or help, folks like you in the field?
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing counselors need to know is that there are resources.
Sure.
I think a lot of times as a counselor, like people are bringing so much into your room and it's like, I don't even know what to do with that. Like if it's an eating issue, you're like, I've never really thought about food this way.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in food. I just eat, right? Like, I don't know. And there's resources. Like myself, there's a number of us in outpatient. I'm not an outpatient anymore, I guess. But there's a number of outpatient dietitians who love working in collaboration with mental health providers. Yeah. The majority of us are trained in eating disorders. And then you get into outpatient care and you're like, wow, you don't have to have a diagnosed eating disorder to have concerns around food. Sure. Again, it could be depression. It could be ADHD. It could be trauma, like trauma around food, trauma around mealtime as a kid. Like dad was always angry. Dad was always yelling at the dinner table. So food then doesn't feel safe, right? Like this is a traumatic experience for me, just having to sit down with my kids at the dinner table. So we just don't. We eat in front of the TV. But I hate that, right? And so I think for counselors to know that there's resources, there's great resources in Greenville. We have a lot of great providers.
Yeah, a lot of great outpatient. And again, very cool to learn that there's going to be partial hospitalization programs happening. And IOP or just
eventually.
Okay.
Eventually. We're going to start with one thing at a time.
Yeah. Probably smart.
Yeah. But I collaborate. I mean, I would say 90% of the individuals that I see in private practice are also seeing a therapist.
Okay.
I see a lot of athletes for underfueling.
I was about to say athletes, and then could you just speak a bit to you referenced it, and so I pinned it in my brain of just the adolescent, pubescent time and what that does to the body awareness issue, and maybe how sometime, and correct me if I'm wrong or if you see this as well, that's can be the time where kids get this awareness of their body and it's the growth and the awkward stages of growing this way maybe before growing that way or whatnot, and that awareness starts to create this maybe instead of just enjoying food and not thinking about it so much, not stressing about it, now we're starting to stress about it a bit more. Or go into any of the age ranges. Or
I mean, I think adolescence is such a key area because of, so like you said, I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, growing this way before that way, as you watch kids grow, they get wider before they get taller. We have to have meat on our bones to be able to stretch out, right? Like that's how growth works. And when you're 12, that's really uncomfortable. And when you're a 10-year-old girl and all the boys aren't going to hit puberty for another 5 years and they're like string beans, it's really uncomfortable, right? And so then we all have access to the internet and you have these 12-year-old kids going on the internet saying like, how do I lose weight? And Google's going to tell you to eat 1,200 calories.
That's right.
And that's starvation. Wow. 1,200 calories is starvation. So then you or I, if any of us decided I'm going to eat 1,200 calories, we could survive that for a long time. But a kid that's trying to grow is going to plummet really, really quickly. And they are going to start to have the anxiety, the hormone imbalances, the sleep problem, like all of the symptoms.
The lack of performance in sports or the injuries.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so kids decline really, really quickly. And so I think as a provider, like when you hear kids kind of worrying about food or maybe saying like, I'm not eating this, it always starts with like, she cut out dessert. He decided he wasn't going to drink soda anymore. And it feels really benign. Like, if my kid doesn't drink soda, like, cool.
Almost sounds like, oh, what a sign of maturity.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
What's the parent to do instead of going all the way overboard of my kid has a full-blown anemia or, eating disorder? Like, what do you do? So I'm wearing now we were in the counselor role. I'm wearing the parent hat now. Like, what do parents do for that? How do they support their child when that awareness happens from your specialty, your vantage point?
I think it's observing more than talking. I think it's also a lot of self-reflection and saying, what are we modeling in our home? Because if my bread is all keto bread and all my, meals are just a salad, then I'm saying like what you're doing is probably good, right? Like kids learn more from modeling than from conversation.
Yeah.
So I think the first two steps are observing and like self-reflection. I think if there's a concern, you can talk to your pediatrician. I think you're monitoring weight. What's really hard is we're in this like culture that's obsessed with obesity and childhood obesity. And so you take your kid to the doctor if they are in a larger body and they've lost some weight and you're like, maybe that's a good thing. I don't think it's ever a good thing for a kid to lose weight. A kid can grow. They might grow into that weight. They might not gain more weight. But a 13-year-old does not need to be losing weight. That means they're not getting enough energy. And if they're not getting enough energy, then what's happening in the body? And so I think it's observing. If you feel comfortable having those conversations, it's a really great resource. A book that I love is Intuitive Eating. It's written by 2 dietitians. It's called Intuitive Eating. And in the back of that book is a chapter called Raising an Intuitive Eater. I think there's actually also a book called Raising an Intuitive Eater. But it's starting, I think it reshapes how parents think about food and how we all probably grew up in the clean plate club, right? Like if food's on your plate, you got to finish it.
That's right.
And now we're like, wait, is that not right? I don't know what you're supposed to do. And it has a lot of information and resources and suggestions for like, how do you manage food at your home?
Yeah.
There's Ellen Satter. She has written a ton of books. She's like the queen of pediatric feeding. Like she has like kind of written that Bible of how do you manage food in your home?
Okay.
How do we limit the power struggles around food? Yeah. How do we, and her whole theory is like, as the parent, your job is to provide food. Your child gets to choose whether or not they eat the food.
Yeah.
That was a really simplistic way of saying it. You might want to check out the book before just going off of that. But
no, these are wonderful thoughts.
I'm struck earlier. You said one of the things that happens when our relationship with food is not healthy is we lose our ability to trust ourselves. So it makes sense that we need resources. We need to kind of retrain our thinking, our understanding. At first pass, I'm kind of like, man, why all the books on food? But it's not intuitive because of all of the problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's good to kind of reclaim or redeem like the intuition that's there.
Yeah.
Am I hearing you right?
You're nailing it. Yep.
Okay.
No,
Cool.
Exactly. I think the more we overthink it, your body's going to tell you if you're hungry. But I think we live in a culture that says, don't trust that.
Yeah.
Suppress it. Skip that. Prolong it. And I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
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 Your body's trustworthy. And I think that's not something that a lot of people are able to believe.
It was designed to be that way.
Yeah.
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 Really neat.
Well, listen, I'm so glad that you stopped by. This has been incredibly informative for me.
Yeah,
and I
me
know
too.
for anyone listening has learned a lot. So I really appreciate you.
Of course.
And best of luck on your new
Thanks.
venture.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if you have a way you want people to contact you. If you want them, I can put it in the notes later if you're not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I still have my website for my private practice. And
Okay.
if people have questions or want resources or whatever, greenvillenutritiontherapy.com.
Okay.
There's a form at the bottom. You can submit, an inquiry. It goes to my email.
Perfect.
I think that's probably the easiest way.
Okay. GreenvilleNutritionTherapy.com.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Julie, so much.
Of course.
Thanks, Julie.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.